And a mate said, "Oh, it's gone way too high now. If it goes back down to 2K, I'll buy in." Lo and behold, he's never bought back in, and we're up now at 37K. So a 5x nearly in terms of the price, and he's still contemplating as to whether or not to buy it. Okay,
have fun.
keep
Fun
dreaming.
bit staying poor,
Yeah,
but you could always employ him as a gardener or
true.
a chef.
This is true.
You can mop the deck of my boat.
That's a big job though. It's gonna be a big boat.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a very
his
big-
family members too.
Maybe he just mops the boat that lives inside my other boat. It's not.
I just want a big megaphone on the top. Fucking told you so.
Have fun staying poor. I told you so.
Point behind it that we have to
Yeah.
accept that the worst people on the planet, like the dictators, the Putins, the Hitlers, all that, we have to accept they can be Bitcoiners, because if we try and censor them, then that means they can censor you.
Right, well, here we are. Once again, episode 25. We've not been cancelled. Maybe this will be the one. Brought to you, as always, by Mr. All-In, Dr. 10% Evil. Dr. Evil 10%. Let's get that right. Myself, Sir Neverlook. And you know who, but she's not here. She's here. She's not here. Mrs. No Show.
If
What I
Mrs.
wanna do-
if Mrs. No Show did show,
Yeah,
then would we have to have like some entrance music?
I think so. A grand reveal and an unveiling that to say she was here, but she's not here. But she's
And
here.
what would her name be the week which she did show?
Oh,
Still no show.
Yeah, it would take a long time to get rid of that name now. You have to prove that you can show up to get rid of
Supposed
that.
to be getting into positive, wouldn't it? Whereas we're currently on minus 23 at the moment.
Right. I mean, that would be a good metric, actually. Yeah, you have to get back to zero before you earn a proper name.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, every week it gets harder.
If she's listening, she knows. And it's interesting, isn't it? We're doing it for the pronouns as well. We're calling him a her. And for
There we
everyone on
go.
the podcast, he will
First
be
strike.
named as she.
I'm glad this episode you're going to be the one that gets cancelled first. Like, normally it's me.
Yeah, I'm
And
just
you need
starting as a mean to
5
go
minutes
on.
in.
Yeah. The good thing is that no one knows that we can edit it, but we don't. We never do. We leave it in, until the platform gets big enough, and then they come back and say, "Do you remember that episode where you were really trouncing men as women and women as men?" Yeah, we're gonna call back on that. 10 years later. Well, fuck you for that too.
Yeah, but by that time, hopefully we'll have hyper Bitcoinization, so you'll be like, I don't care.
Exactly. They're going to say the only thing you could do is like, "Oh, we'll go for your bank account." It's like, we're Bitcoiners. You can't cancel my bank account. There's no money in the account.
System. Yeah, I'm out the system.
It's like, good luck freaking suspending my £200 I have in there. That's my day-to-day spends, boys. That ain't.
Yeah.
That
I
ain't
won't even need that, hopefully.
exactly.
The likes of McDonald's, already plugged into being that chain in El Salvador. They'll realize the gains that they're making from not being on the Visa network and the MasterCard network. And yeah, they'll just be like, we need to roll this out worldwide.
I was just hoping you were going to say something like you're going to buy a ranch and be self-sufficient, but instead you go for McDonald's instead.
I'm just saying that there will be opportunities to be outside of being self-sovereign.
Oh yeah. Bitcoin will be accepted everywhere. It's just a matter of time, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
I'm
yeah,
not a McDonald's guy.
yeah. But on the theme of the pod and stuff, like we've got a loyal listener. Finally.
Yeah, let's start off with that for sure.
Give him a shout out. So it's I don't know how to pronounce his name. That's the only problem. So
Stefan?
It's either Stevan or Stephen. It depends.
Can we call him Stephos?
Don't insult him already. We're trying to be positive here.
Stevan Gruevac.
Yeah, so it's amazing because he's left a couple of comments now on our YouTube videos, and they've been all super positive. And let's be honest, YouTube is normally a complete cesspit in the comment section. Yeah, and our comment section has been probably just like that. Even the comments he was leaving, they're surrounded by spam. Usually, then it's normally interlaced with racist abuse, like death threats, like the whole lot, right? It's normally that's YouTube comments, and it's amazing. The first person to actually comment is being positive, and it's great because obviously we started this podcast just for us, really, didn't we? And the first almost 3 months of episodes were just purely private. We're doing it for ourselves, sending it to a couple of our mates and family, but we decided to shove it public and then just put it onto a couple of other platforms just to see what would happen. And the listenership is. The graph's going up. We keep gaining listeners every single week. More people are tuning in. And
here's some of our comments which we've had.
I don't read out the spam.
Thank you for the wonderful help. In the eyes of the average person, you're an ordinary person. In my eyes, you're one heaven's kindest angels.
Yeah, supposed to be angels.
Yeah, that's spam, isn't it? Because I think the name is, if you click the name, I think it goes to a Telegram group or something.
Yeah, and there's some other one which is nonsense as well. So what are the kind of viewing figures which you've got on across the different ones? You can see YouTube, it's 13, 14 listens per episode.
Yeah, it's just ticking up. Yeah, we'll keep the metrics internal, for now. And but they're all ticking up. They're all going up in the right direction. And I was
the fact that it's not UK based as well. UK based only is a good thing.
Yeah, that's the great thing as well. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure we'll have to, Stephen, if he is listening, if he wants to kind of dox himself a little bit, is what country are you in? And I wanted to say that if we ever do merch, if we ever do the 4Bs merch, Stephen or Stefan, he's earned himself a free hoodie or free hat. So
100%.
The merch.
If we ever do it, admittedly there is none. We don't have a logo. We don't have anything.
I was going to say, what on earth would you have as a merch? Like a picture of our three ugly faces and just a question mark for Mrs. No Show.
Yeah, it's the name.
We've got a nice brand.
Yeah,
we've got a nice brand. Admittedly, it's copyrighted material at the moment, probably in our brand with the yellow bull and all that. So that's the yellow bull is our brand at the moment. So we would shove that on a hat, shove that on a hoodie. It looks quite cool. Yeah. 4Bs underneath it. Yeah, we could come up with something pretty sweet, I think. But yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves. But I just wanted to say,
if anyone's listening again and wants to do a new logo or if got some ideas, feel free. Drop a comment. Drop a meme.
actually, we'll put it out there now. Actually,
the
first 10 people that comment that we don't know, by the way, if it's just my brother and Mrs. No Show commenting, doesn't count. But for the first 10 people that comment, they are front of the queue on any merch that happens to come out. They get it for free. Sent to them anywhere in the world. First 10.
Bullish.
Yeah.
First 10.
Back that.
Anyway, enough about us. Let's get on to
Yeah. Let's just review last week. We did the Great Reset. Thanks very much again for all of those comments, but we're back to business. So where are we going to go? Where are we going to go on the agenda? Because there's a lot on this agenda. Do we want to start
recent
week.
Kind of touch about, because I think it kind of connects to last week's about the conspiracy theories.
Of course.
So Facebook was down yesterday, what was it, for 6 hours or so?
Yeah.
And there's a number of conspiracy theories. So I think there's one which is in the whole Great Reset, where it's a whole bring down all the internet and the ways of connecting as part of this kind of general Great Reset is something which I've seen suggested. And then there's also taking down the internet in order to, to bring about the start of a digital identity to use various services.
Did you sleep okay last night knowing that Facebook, Instagram and WhatsApp were down?
I slept like a baby.
Yeah.
I was just like, it'd be great if it never came back.
I was of the same opinion. I was loving Twitter and my other groups and Signal and Telegram and thought, it's about time.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? As a Bitcoiner, you've already moved away from all Facebook products anyway. So I literally didn't even know it was down. The only reason I did know was because people on Twitter were talking about it. And I just went on Instagram then just to take a look. I went, oh yeah, nothing's loading. Lol. Like it's just.
Do you think that's a kind of mindset that Bitcoiners do move away from Facebook and related ones? Because it is a waste of time, isn't it? There's no positive
waste of time.
Yeah, well, and also I think we value our privacy as well, and we know by using their products, they are in your phone and they're looking at everything, and the products are largely a waste of time, and it's you can't really have a sensible conversation, can you? Like in Facebook, it's very much your social circle, and quite often when you want to talk about Bitcoin subjects, you want to talk to the experts about this stuff, and you want to follow the experts. It's very hard to do that in Facebook. Instagram is obviously just pictures. And then WhatsApp, yeah, it's a normal chat service that we all used to use. But I used to use WhatsApp largely because it was independent. It was the original Signal.
Yeah,
a 100% privacy-based chatting app. Then it got acquired by Facebook, and then it pretty much triggered us to move away from it when Facebook announced, oh, we're now going to start monitoring the chat and sending ads into it. That suddenly meant, right, you're monitoring our chats. Nope, I'm out, because if you're going to use it for advertising, you're also going to use it for law enforcement and all sorts of stuff. And I don't want to have something I've said taken out of context and then be prosecuted in a court of law for saying something. So let's move.
The 4Bs use Signal. Let me just let you know that. Yeah, when we communicate, we use Signal. We have them for months now, nearly a year, I'd say.
Yeah. And I love this whole Facebook news, right? Because when I first saw it, my first thing was, and we've linked Laser Hodl's update in this, where it was back in August. He predicted that they're going to come after the internet. They're going to do a false flag, essentially, and want to vaccinate the internet by creating a cyber attack, taking things down, and then using it as an excuse to bring in a load of new regulation. It's a great thread. We'll link to it, and I would suggest everyone to read it. And because when I was looking at it, I was just, this isn't just a normal downtime, right? We've had platforms go down all the time. But for me, this one was a little bit different, and for a couple of reasons. Number one, 6 hours. That is a huge amount of time. Yeah, I used to manage platforms. And
$7 billion worth of time, apparently.
Is that what they've calculated it to be?
It was the net worth of the Facebook. But also, if you think about 6 hours worth of time, surely we have a backup. Surely we have another instance sitting in another cloud provider. It's Facebook. Exactly. They have resilience. Exactly. It makes no sense to gone down like it did.
Exactly.
And all three as well.
Yeah, that was another thing, right? All three platforms all went down at the same time. So look, you guys still work in that company. I used to look after the platforms. They are all, every product is separated. Even if they're on the same infrastructure, they're separated. They then also have servers in different geographic locations, just in case like the whole UK had a power outage. It wouldn't even matter to our UK customers. We would still have servers in Australia, in America, in Europe. They would all just click on instead. Yeah. So for them to be down for 6 hours, all three products, extremely strange. Because obviously we're not talking about a small company here. Like in reality, the one we work for is a small company compared to Facebook.
100%.
And we, over the 12 years I worked in that business, we were never down for longer than an hour. And over 10 minutes, we probably had 3 outages over 10 minutes over 12 years. So for Facebook to be down for 6 hours, one of the biggest companies, obviously they're an internet first company as well. They've never been like an offline company and gone online like we did. The company we did, they're a 40-year-old company. It all started offline, and then you have that weird transition, and sometimes it's clunky. They built internet first. So everything was built for resiliency, speed, very weird.
It's a great point.
Their notifications that they sent out around that downtime were so bad. They were just vague, no detail, no indication of when you're going to come up. And again, another thing that I learned about when a platform goes down, you give specifics. You update every 10 minutes because you want to calm people down. Their phones and their support must have been bombarded with literally millions of support requests because their notifications were so bad, it didn't answer any question. How many businesses base a lot of their business activity on Facebook? That 7 billion you just mentioned, that might be just partly Facebook's revenue. I've been a lot of companies run their business through the Facebook platform in some shape or form, and they were just off, and the notifications were just awful, which again, for a platform like Facebook, they are normally so good at this. Yet yesterday, awful, weird.
And notifications through a third party as well. in the likes of Twitter.
Yeah, it's just bizarre, isn't it? Like literally giving
really bizarre
traffic to your competitor, right? Their number one competitor to Facebook is Twitter, and yeah, let's go and send a load of traffic there. Even their office was closed, so the staff couldn't get in the building. So I've read into that a little bit, and apparently the downtime did cause even their passes to not work on the doors, so they couldn't get in. But even that, I just go, this is weird, right? The engineers were trying to get in to supposedly fix this thing, and they couldn't get in the building. So when you
always be a manual bypass,
just leave the fucking door open. Have you heard of a door wedge? There you go.
Yeah.
Just kick the door open, right? It's just, so when you factored all these things together, that's why the way I positioned it on the agenda was not just Facebook's down, because in reality, who cares? If Facebook was down, it wouldn't even meet the agenda, wouldn't even make our agenda. It's not even interesting. But the only reason it's interesting is this a signal to go, are they causing a big impact on people to then go, oh, look, the internet isn't secure? And it was very much, I was going to position it as, look, this is a theory. There's no real data behind it. It just looks sus, but who knows? But then within hours of this, like all kind of concluding, Mr. fucking Klaus Schwab comes out and does a little 1 minute update on Twitter with the World Economic Forum behind him on one side, the Great Reset words on the other. He's sat in the middle going, this is an example of the internet being unprotected. COVID-19 would just be seen as a minor inconvenience compared to an actual proper cyber attack on the internet. It's going to take down banking, travel, everything. The world will ground to a halt. So hence, we need to be careful about an internet pandemic. And we called it a cyber pandemic, he called it. And it's just, well, there you go. Like now that all my doubt, and now they've just put this little cherry on the cake at the end going, they absolutely are using this as a reason to start a load more regulation on the internet and to start censoring it. And, as we said, it's
the man indeed in the face of it, Klaus.
Yeah, he's out there like with a nice prepared statement, and we talk about the progression, like what is the Great Reset? In reality, if I really dumb it down, it's turning the West into China. And what do China have? They have the Great Firewall of China. That's what they have. Everything inside on the internet in China is government approved information. Nothing gets posted on there unless the government approve it. This is what they're trying to do here, right? They're trying to do a new firewall of the Western internet where it's all government approved stuff. And who knows, we'll see it play out over the next couple of weeks or months, but early signs already look like this may have been an engineered attack.
Test.
Let's just take down the whole of Facebook for a day. And because they've already got their prepared statements to go, oh, look, we can fix this. Don't worry, guys. If you want your Facebook and WhatsApp and all that back, we're going to pass some regulation and it's all going to be safe. And you go,
Well, as long as you don't have to wear a mask to operate your phone. Or some armbands.
Well, that's the problem. It'll be the equivalent, right? It'll be like going on the internet and wearing a muzzle because you won't be able to speak and everything you read will be government propaganda. It'll be like switching the TV on again, because there's only certain channels. I wonder if this will be
moved towards decentralized platforms, but then again, it's getting around ISPs, isn't it? So we'll restrict everything by those, which is ultimately what China does.
Yeah, and don't forget in China as well, you are it links to your social credit score as well in terms of the types of sites that you go on, the content that you read as well. So there is freedom, but there's a lack of freedom and choice because if you make the wrong moves, then you're punished, basically.
Exactly. So just as I've been banned off every platform for a period of time. So and
even
that's just
OnlyFans.
No, not that one. Everything goes on that one. But it's weird, right? Because obviously on those platforms, I don't use my real identity on any of them. But in this new world, I would have to be much more careful because, well, I suppose I'm a Bitcoiner, but it'd be inconvenient, right? If they just banned me, if my real identity was there, because they could automatically freeze my bank accounts and my passport could be frozen as well. And obviously, if you're just a normal person working in a non-Bitcoin world, you don't exist in society, just as we said, right? They're trying to isolate you, and it's a proper punishment then. And largely, what do you get banned for? You don't get banned for the traditional stuff, the stuff that they will say you get banned for, like the being aggressive or racist or sexist and just all that kind of stuff. Now, in reality,
everything you'll find on the 4Bs.
Yeah, you'll just get a slap on the wrist for a lot of that stuff. In reality, what you really get banned for in China is speaking out against the government.
Yeah.
Say, like actually being a contrarian against the government narrative. That's what you get banned for, and that's what's scary, right? Because it forces people into compliance, and then people like us would never find, like Bitcoin Twitter, for example. It wouldn't have really existed because anyone that even starts on that gets cancelled, and then you learn to just not speak, and you end up having to meet physically in like little bars and pubs and having little chats. And essentially what it does, it cuts the conversation off, right? The internet connected everyone. We all suddenly realized there's a load of people thinking like us. What they're trying to do is cut that back off and go, no, go back into your smaller communities. And then suddenly, if I look around my immediate family and friends, there's barely anyone like me that really thinks like I do. So I'd end up just being kind of almost isolated from them. So I end up censoring myself and going back to being a normie because I don't find people that talk like me that want to discuss it. So I just end up going, I'm too weird. I just need to just play the game. And it's a dangerous.
Interesting, actually. I was watching a video with Garry Kasparov, and he was growing up in Russia, and he knew obviously of the constraints of Russia as a kid growing up, but the fact that he was a world chess champion allowed him to travel and then understand what was going on outside of Russia, and then also understand, okay, well, this is not normal of what's happening in my country. And to your point, you probably would be constrained to talk with others because you're thinking, I don't fit in here. And that's because the masses actually don't know the truth. And then when you meet up with other people, you know, we speak, we're all different on this podcast, but we all share the same likeness of, you know, we don't want to be controlled. We want to be able to have our own freedoms and our own voice. And ultimately, we know that the government is not a good thing as well. And they're not there for your, you know, we
protection. Yeah,
your protection. We actually vote for these people in, but they then become corrupt, and leads us nicely onto Pandora's Papers as well. If you want to talk about corruptness.
Yeah, the Pandora Papers is hilarious, isn't it? Because I like how they named it as well. It's so close to the Panama Papers, nearly the same name.
And but they've only released the first bit of it. There's a lot more to come from what I've read.
There's too much in there. You're absolutely right.
Interesting names like various prime ministers. Like how have they managed to get a portfolio of say £40 million worth of property on a prime minister's salary, you know, these poor African countries. So, you know, there's a lot of corrupt world leaders, and that hasn't really been questioned. Everyone's just looking at the magnitude of the leaks at the moment. Like I think it's Putin's, was it girlfriend or wife has some kind of like massively expensive apartment in Monaco, which she can never have paid for. And Putin gets paid peanuts from Russia, from what I understand, but obviously doesn't. And surprise, surprise, everyone's favorite socialist is there, Tony Blair. Tony Blair buying offices through offshore companies so he doesn't have to pay tax. That's how much he cares about the people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this is one of those things, right, where it's this like tax, being tax efficient isn't illegal, but tax evasion is. So just that Tony Blair example, right? He was buying an office in London, and there's 300 grand of stamp duty that needed to be spent, needed to be paid. So this house,
he's a multi-millionaire. It's not just 1 or 2 million. It's like he's got 30 million or so. So it's not exactly a big thing for him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Him dropping 300 grand of stamp duty wouldn't really have affected him, but he still decided, I don't want to pay it. So instead of paying it, he set up a shell company off in Panama or whatever, and then he's used that shell company to buy the office that he then indirectly owns, and somehow the stamp duty therefore isn't due. Now, the law is very clear in the UK, where you're allowed to do the loopholes, you're allowed to do the tax efficiency, but you're not allowed to do tax evasion. So if it can be proven that you only did a thing purely to avoid tax, not because it was a proper business thing, you still owe the tax. So this exposure of Tony Blair, it's almost black and white that he, in that one example, he owes that 300 grand of stamp duty.
Not quite, because he bought the company, which was owned by he bought the offices, which was owned through the shell company. So that's where she'll get around it saying, I wanted the property, but it was owned through that. That's how he'll do
that's
it.
Right. That's
because
what I was going to say.
He didn't set up the company. The company was already set up owning the offices.
Yeah, so whether he bought the company.
So whether he got an intermediary to do that is another question, but there's no evidence of him setting up the company, which is how he'll get away with it.
Yeah.
But it's just, come on, it's just like when the
it's crooked.
It's clearly corrupt, right? It's you can just go to the shell company and go, who owns this? And if you keep tracking it back, I can guarantee the name Tony Blair comes up, because the way they do it is they use a load of random names of executives in Panama, and usually it's just the locals. The locals have no clue what they're doing. They just come in, sign papers each day, and then walk home. They don't know that they're the CEO of like 2,000 companies. And it's like, oh, you actually own this £3 million office in London. They don't know. And it's just Tony Blair can't have his name on the paper. He indirectly owns it, but he can't be on the paper because otherwise he's buying it from himself through a shell company to avoid stamp duty tax. It's all just corrupt.
He's done it. Like I said, this is, even if he didn't want to do it, he should have gone, oh, I've had to buy it through this offshore company. I want to pay my stamp duty, because it is someone who's made his fortune through being Prime Minister of a Labour Party as well. Not the Conservatives, but the Labour Party is meant to be for the people. So this is someone who should have gone, oh yeah, I've had to buy it because it was through an offshore company, but I'm going to pay my stamp duty. That's what that person who positions himself in such a way should be doing.
Yeah. But I think a lot of his money was made outside of obviously becoming or being the Prime Minister. You know, he does various talks. I don't know his current role right now.
Well, he's got a lot of property and he's on various boards and he does various talks. So basically it's all rewards for towing the line whilst he was in power. Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, they're all bribes. They're all bribes. All these ex-politicians get paid like £1 million to do an after-dinner speech by big banks, big pharmaceutical companies, big property companies, and this is all just that. It's the bribes that they got from being friendly when they had all the power. They passed a load of friendly regulation, let a load of deals go through, let people earn billions, and then on the premise that once I retire, you hire me twice a year to do an after-dinner speech. You pay me $2 million a pop, and that's how I get paid. And it's essentially my pension, right? And that's how, I think the salary for the British Prime Minister is about 140 grand.
Yeah.
So he becomes a millionaire after 10 years, but 1 million, after tax. You got 1 million after tax, 10 years, and now it's 10 years later, and he's got 40, 50, 60 million. So why does all that?
It's like the presidents, none of them were that rich before they came to power, like Bill Clinton and Obama. They became rich after, when they got all these things pulled in. Yeah,
it's why politics is just so broken, because it's you get there to get influence, and then you get paid afterwards, and it's just known. And so it's why I always like, one of my ways to try and fix this is to pay our politicians properly. I always thought it was crazy that the supposedly the most powerful person in the UK gets paid 140 grand a year. You know, in reality, that's like, if you've got some very good salespeople in a relatively big company, they're earning the same, if not more. It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous that he is looking after 80 million people and he's getting paid the same as just some 25-year-old like top sales guy. It's crazy. Like the level of responsibility is just off the charts. He should clearly be being paid millions, and
that's why they fiddle their expenses too.
I know,
but no, they're just crooked in nature. That's why they fiddle their expenses.
Yeah. Because the actual gains on that, it's like this stamp duty, right? It's like he doesn't need to do it.
No, he doesn't.
They're just greedy, right? It's just like, you've got, I don't know, 50 million in the bank. Yeah, you've got your expenses coming through, and you can shave £200 off. They just do it because they're just always pulling strings, always using loopholes. So why not? It's just in them.
Do you guys ever watch Billions?
Sorry?
Do you ever watch Billions?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I'm a couple of episodes behind, though.
Yeah. So, you see it a lot happening with Chuck and his dad as well, in terms of, these favors. And it was actually something I was going to talk about in our group as well. Taylor, I wonder if Lynn Alden is like, a Taylor style.
Yes, I thought that myself.
Have you? Yeah, because she's just like super smart, but obviously, it's just along the lines, the way she talks as well. She's just so clinical and emotional.
How long's Lynn Alden been on the kind of like financial scene as famous as she is?
I don't know, because she wasn't necessarily a Bitcoiner initially.
No, she's only been in Bitcoin since 2020, but on the financial scene for decades. She's been well respected as a macro investor, and she's had a.
She's that old?
Yeah, well, I don't know. She's I don't know, at least a decade. Then I don't know.
Because if it's a decade, then yes, it may actually be based on her.
Based on, I don't know. It's not based on her. Jesus.
Oh no, it's the way which she talks.
Yeah, I genuinely feel like it is. Yeah,
because I didn't really come across Lynn until a few months ago. I think when we used her as a topic on this, or someone shared a video. Yeah. And I did think the same. And then I watched an episode the other week, and I was sitting there because it wasn't so long since I'd listened to her, and I thought it's the same like speech pattern and it's the same kind of tone.
Yes, exactly that.
Yeah, maybe onto something. I know.
Anyway, comments below.
No, I was confused about her gender as well.
Exactly. There is an article out there. Is Lynn Alden a man or transgender?
It's probably a bit unfair on her, but
yeah,
it's out there. Just purely because she's got quite a deep voice, hasn't she? And she speaks very, don't know. It's just, it's the question marks out there, and she's never really confirmed or denied it either way. So
I don't think it really matters. No. If she was like going into the topics of identity and so on, then yes, it would be bringing up. But talks about Bitcoin and economics, so. Yeah, and seems to make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's just a link to that Taylor woman, because she's non-binary as well, isn't she? So it's like
exactly that. Yeah,
it's just a link. But what's next?
Digress. Maybe that's a theme and a topic for another week.
So Pandora. So maybe talking about British politics, then we've got Boris blames shortages on low wages. Which I thought was a bit comical headline. So he's saying that we can't rely on cheap labour from abroad, and wages are flatlined for decades. And it's just like, well, how about we stop printing money, stop inflating the costs, and then we wouldn't have to keep on increasing wages, and we'd actually have a fair economy. And I thought this was just a bit of a Bitcoin topic without it meaning to be. So it just points out the problems of the current state of the world and monetary system.
Yeah.
And
well, like go for it.
It's just one of those things, isn't it? It's again, this is a little bit links down back to the Facebook outage. It's why did the pandemic happen? Because it also gives an explanation for these shortages, right? Because people haven't been producing as much, not as many people being at work. I've seen crazy pictures of loads of oil tankers and various ships just stuck out in the ocean. Literally hundreds of the things just can't get in because there's just nowhere for them to dock. So what it does is it creates a crisis, right? It creates these shortages. There's fuel and food shortages, just like having Facebook go down. But you know what? Has this been engineered? Because, well, why would you engineer it? Well, you now get to blame this on why people are poorer. And you blame these shortages on, you know that your wages aren't going as far anymore. This is why. It's not inflation, it's this. And it's just a classic magician's trick. He's doing the trick under the table and he's showing you his hand here. And this is what they're doing, right? Look, food and fuel shortages. And whilst underneath the table, they've doubled the supply of the money. And they're like, why do my wages only go half as far? Well, because of the thing under the table, it's nothing to do with the fact there's no petrol in the station for a week. It's so frustrating. And then in the picture, massively triggered me. It's Boris Johnson with some boxing gloves on it, saying "Build back better."
Yeah, build back better. Like, stop.
It's like
stop. The whole pro-Brexit thing, and I was just like, build back better. Obviously, it aligns to Klaus as well. And no. No, stop.
Yeah, no, doing, aren't they? It's weird because obviously we've identified the Great Reset and Build Back Better, and then we've seen all the politicians repeat it. So now every time we see it, it's just funny. But
yeah,
if you're not clued into this, you're following the narrative of what Build Back Better.
Of course,
it means.
I mean, that was
they're saying, because they're saying Build Back Better after the pandemic, right?
Yeah,
it's all got good intentions, but we know that there's more sinister connotations behind the scenes. So every time we see it, we're like, bloody hell, this is the brainwashing. And they just use these taglines, and they're doing it again.
That was the narrative as well around Brexit as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, take the control, we can build back better, we can start again. We used to do this, we used to do that. Come on now. You know, no one wants those menial jobs, hence the reason why, you know, we outsourced it to people that, whilst it was a lower wage than what the majority of people would have normally taken, it was a great wage for those that did take it, and it allowed them to send money back home. Guess what? It allowed them now to, if they needed to, send even more money back home using the Lightning Network. Even better. But they're not here because we, you know, obviously voted out. Again, different topic, different subject, different time, but it all goes back to the whole narrative of Build Back Better and the Great Reset. Not needed.
Yeah.
Presented as a good thing, it's not a good thing.
Yeah. And if we skip to a different politician, so there's the Missouri mayor. Weirdly, he seems to be a Bitcoiner. So this is like a politician. Again, it's like the El Salvador Bukele guy isn't part of the Old Boys Club. And he's come out and he wants to give $1,000 in Bitcoin to every household in his state.
Yeah,
and, it's a fair amount.
Yeah.
But looking at it, he's a mayor of, what is it, Hope Springs or something like that?
Yeah, or in Missouri, is it? Yeah.
Yes, and it's got a population of 1,152 people. So it's not massive, but it's still a bit of a statement.
Yes,
like, you know, it's still progress. I looked at it and went, oh, the population's not massive, but then I thought, well, it's still pushing a message out, and it's still, and part of the program is to give education on how to store Bitcoin as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we're currently at, what is it, $1,000? Sorry, we're at $1,000, and what's the price in dollars? About 40 something.
50 now, $50,000 today.
So $50,000. So, you know,
I never look.
So they get a 50th of the Bitcoin, you know, which is a substantial amount, and especially if they keep it, you know, it'll only grow.
We trending up, by the way. Again, I don't know. Are we up?
We are. Yeah, we've had a very, very good week this week. There's a story actually in here where a load of shorts got wrecked this week. So we pretty much went from about 40,000 to about 48,000 in the space of one evening, and all the shorts got wrecked. Everyone was predicting, as always, because we've been down at about 40,000 for a while. We're going about this amount of time to go down to 20. So once all the sentiment gets
just
like that.
Just information about shorts. Shorts are basically bets which are going to that Bitcoin will go down. So it's basically it's betting against the market almost. Yeah. And it is something which weighs down a share. It weighs down Bitcoin. So you've got a bit of an artificial low caused by the amount of shorts in place, is my understanding. You know, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So destroying some of these shorts basically releases Bitcoin from its shackles, and you will see a bit of a surge, which we've seen. Hopefully a bit more as well, because we've seen so the more which get broken away, more chance we get of breaking more shorts. So, you know, maybe we'll see a lovely price coming soon.
Yeah. Well, what it actually does, it ends up, if you short something for too much, it ends up being a short squeeze, because you bet on the price going down, but you essentially like buy the shares expecting to sell them back at a lower price and take the profit as when you bought them. It's like a weird like exchange. But if there are too many people short and the price goes up, it actually forces these short sellers to buy at a higher price. So what it ends up doing is adding rocket fuel to the price, and it shoots up. It's exactly what Reddit ended up doing. All the meme stocks, it's exactly how they did it. They did a short squeeze. They found a load of stocks that had a huge amount of shorts on it and went, holy shit, like the price is say $10. If we can get the price to 15, all these shorts have to buy, and the price will go from 15 to 30. And if we keep buying, all the other shorts are going to end up having to buy it. And that's exactly how they did it. They coordinated a big attack against Wall Street and took the share price of these random like GameStop.
It was AMC and GameStop.
GameStop, yeah. It went from like $10 to $400 in the space of a week. And they wrecked a load of shorts. And that's in a smaller way. That's what happens in Bitcoin over and over again, right? People end up, it happens both ways as well, by the way. You leverage long and you can leverage short. So when Bitcoin ends up going up too fast, too quickly, people get overconfident, they leverage long. And then when the price comes down, they get liquidated and then have to sell, and it causes sell pressure, and we dump much further. But then once we dump and we hit kind of a bit of a bottom, people get overconfident, start shorting it, the price goes up, and then the reverse happens. And that's where a lot of the volatility in Bitcoin comes from. It's the traders leveraging long and leveraging short, which is why once we get a little movement, we tend to not have little movements. Once we get more than a 3 or 4%, it tends to be someone on some side of the trade just got liquidated and the price just flies in whichever direction it was.
So kind of for that one, we started 5 days ago on 32,500, and we've ended where we are at the moment, 37,245. So that seems significant. And if you look at over the first day, there's a big slope from 32 to 34, where it's just literally jumped up.
Well, this time last week, because I did look, we were down at 29 UK pound, 29,000. So
29 to 37.
Yeah, classic, Bitcoin.
So what are you going to buy with your extra money?
More sats.
Always, yeah. Well, I'm already in, and I'm glad I went in. We always talk about DCA, but I didn't try to be clever. I just gave my number, put it in, came up trumps. I wish I'd have gone slightly lower, but hey.
So you put a lump of money if it hit X amount. Okay, fair enough. I wish I'd done that, but I bought pretty much at the top quite a chunk. But then again, I don't think it'll matter in a couple of years.
No. You'll look back and think, whatever.
I must admit, I'm really glad actually as well that you did it, because no one deserves to have their Bitcoin journey 100% in the green. And you guys just came in at too much of a convenient time, just to kind of like reach through 10K for the second time. It was
It was convenient because I entered. Everyone went, fucking hell, Ross has put money into Bitcoin.
I know, yeah. You need to have a Twitter account. You need to be like the new Nancy Pelosi Twitter account. Like once you actually finally buy a stock, like everyone just follow. It must be good now because Ross has finally decided to buy it.
Because the two main ones are Bitcoin and the company which I work for. The company which I work for have held shares for over 10 years and they've gone, is it 40x?
Oh, yeah. Do you know what? In the time that we've been there and the pricing that it's gone, I'll let you know.
What's the current price now? Because I think it was about 27p when I bought in. And now I think it's close to £10.
It's gone down right now. I saw that is around about 8.35, but just the other week before Evergrande, which again we missed because we talked about the Great Reset last week, but it was up at around about £9.15, if not a bit more.
Yeah, so they're my two main investments.
Yeah. And yourself, of course.
Yeah.
Always invest in yourself. 58x, an all-time high from when we first started or around that time.
Yeah.
Nice.
Don't do the comparison if you'd done it in Bitcoin instead, because you'd probably be on 580x at least.
Oh no, I think because this was, I bought 2009,
Yeah.
So literally, it would have been
Bitcoin
pennies.
launch day. Could have got Bitcoin for a penny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing beats Bitcoin gains. You can never get close.
I know.
I think it's
a good day when you can
it's as long as you acknowledge, you can go, oh, Bitcoin shit, blah blah blah, and keep on going on it that way, but never join the party. You're always going to miss out.
Yeah, I did what you did to me the other day, to some friends. Again, if you're listening, haha, I told you so. If you don't buy in, have fun staying poor. Talked about I showed them the messages that we had from like October 2017, and Bitcoin was at like 8K at the time. And a mate said, "Oh, it's gone way too high now. If it goes back down to 2K, I'll buy in." Lo and behold, he's never bought back in, and we're up now at 37K. So a 5x nearly in terms of the price, and he's still contemplating as to whether or not to buy in. No. Okay,
have fun. Keep fun, staying poor.
Yeah, have fun.
But you could always employ him as a gardener or a chef.
This is true.
You can mop the deck of my boat.
That's a big job though. It's gonna be a big boat.
Yeah, he might need his family members too.
Maybe he just mops the boat that lives inside my other boat.
I just never want to be that guy, and I'm sure I probably piss everybody off, because all I'm doing is talking about it and saying, I'd do it. I'd buy him right now. I've got skin in the game, etc. And I'm planning on doing more and more. But I don't want you to look back at me and think, "Oh, that was lucky," or "You never told us." No, I told you pretty much every day, every week.
Yeah, I've told various people. I think I may have succeeded in orange pilling a colleague who I gave a lift down to a charity event. So he's going on holiday, I think, at the end of the week, and he's bought the Bitcoin Standard to read.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you're all feeling the same pain as I felt, right? Because you guys are coming in, like you were the I hate to say it, but you guys were those guys before, right? Yeah. I was telling you about it for years and years and years, and you were just like, yeah, go away. Like, we want to talk about other investments, not just this Bitcoin thing. And it's like there is no other investment.
Mad Gaz with his magical internet money.
It's just about now everyone that was relatively close to me, like family and friends, all Bitcoiners now. It just took me a lot longer than I thought it would. I thought I could convert.
It was that trigger. It was that severe. I think you overestimated people's understanding. I generally think
other people came in quicker. Like weirdly, like you guys were probably a little bit slower. Like, and it's it all depends, I think, how much kind of context we got. If it's just text on like a Telegram group or whatever, or a Signal group, then it can be a little bit watered down. But I think, I've got even a story that links to it, right? Where the Bitcoin lesson of the week is like converting a normie into Bitcoin Twitter. And I just posted this video, and there's this poor girl walking into this like club, and there's a load of guys mosh pitting to Rage Against the Machine. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Just bounce up and down. And she's there with her cocktail, just looking around like, what the fuck have I walked into? And I was just like, that's the perfect analogy for a normie that ends up talking to a Bitcoiner. Like, if you listen to a Bitcoin conversation, it's the equivalent of us mosh pitting over here to Rage Against the Machine. And you've walked in with your little cocktail from the wine bar. Yeah. And it's all nice and pretty. Everything's fucking rosy. But in reality, we're just fucking getting in there, going "fuck you," like
someone's world in there.
Yeah, we're smacking each other in the face and like going "fuck you," and everyone's like, "Why? This isn't normal." We're like, "Nah, it is." And I think that is. I just wanted to use it as like a perfect analogy of that's why it's so hard. I think because you need to get that girl with the cocktail to come into the mosh pit and start going "fuck you," I won't do what you tell me. It's not going to take 10 minutes to get her there. It's going to take months, if not years, because she's so indoctrinated into the Facebook world, right? She's so protected, everything's rosy, trust the government, and then we're all the way down here, and it just takes time. And everyone has their own triggers. Everyone needs to know all their little misconceptions they have of the world. You don't know what everyone has in their own head. Everyone has different lies, and you need to combat each lie, and it just takes time. And again, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink. And I dragged everyone I knew as close to the water as I could, and with the knowledge that I had, hardly anyone drank immediately anyway. It's taken 5 years now, everyone's drinking.
I drank, but I just took baby sips. I literally did. I took baby sips. Yeah, I took baby sips. We both had Bitcoin.
We both had Bitcoin in 2017. Not a lot.
Yeah. You're just using it as a punt, like So
yeah, it was a punt. But I think it's one of those ones. It is for me down to the trigger, and I think quite a lot of people have come on board in 2020 because they've realised something's really not right, and it's really been shown. And a lot of people have realised what inflation really is. But I do kind of think, well, you've still got, say, you got 5 to 10% people actually understanding the concept now. How are you going to get the rest of the people? How are you going to drag the rest in? What's it going to take? Because it's, that's a massive sign.
Yeah. Well, I think ultimately we're seeing it, aren't we? Right? We're seeing it in Salvador. And then we've got a story about Brazil here. It's eventually like we're the early adopters, right? We're still, that's what people still don't get as well. We're still early. And eventually it will be accepted. And it won't be a choice of, I'm taking a risk. It'll just be Bitcoin's accepted here. And you're like, oh, right, when I tap my card, I can either pay in pounds or Bitcoin and whatever. And people just suddenly, without realizing it, go, oh, Bitcoin just holds its value better than my pounds. So I just convert my pounds into Bitcoin. Bang, got you. They probably won't be self-sovereign. They probably won't take custody of it. They won't understand it. They'll accept their wages. They'll convert it into Bitcoin on the fly and on their card, and they'll just bop it. Just as exactly what they're doing in El Salvador right now. They converted an entire nation overnight to Bitcoiners, and most of them have not been orange pilled. They have no clue what Bitcoin is. They will just learn that it's better money because it's now accepted everywhere.
I think I saw a stat of 2 million people. So 1 in 3 people are already Bitcoiners in El Salvador.
Nice. Yeah. They've got a third of the population. Yeah.
In what? Just over, was it September 7th? It was, wasn't it?
It's night
when we did our podcast. Yeah.
Almost exactly a month. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, when it gets to that stand across the world, then I'm going to get some wallpaper. I'm going to get vinyl wrap for my car, which just says, I told you. You should have listened.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
I told you so.
Yeah, I must admit, it'll be an interesting time though, because it'll be one of those things where a lot of people will be having a lot of fun staying poor, and by almost showing that you were like early. The masses aren't going to be friendly.
No.
They're not going to give you a round of applause as you drive by in your vinyl Ferrari. They're going to be throwing rocks at you.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
You're trying to attempt to help them every day, and you
I might just get a Cybertruck.
Evidence. Like, look,
I might just get a Cybertruck then.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, that may be the reason for a Cybertruck.
Yeah, it genuinely was one of the reasons I looked for it. It's like, when everyone's coming at me, all like the vaxxed people just coming at me like zombies, just mow them down in my Cybertruck, just bouncing off.
I just want a big megaphone on the top. Fucking told you so.
Have fun staying poor. I told you so.
Right, oh gosh, do we want to move on to? Bit of a
but yeah, so Neverlock, you shared the Brazil story that Brazil are following El Salvador.
Yeah, I'd love them to. So 9th biggest global currency population of the world. So this is a great opportunity to show that El Salvador were right and El Salvador were leading the way as well. So it's a classic. Back in the day, you get, if they jumped off a cliff, would you jump off a cliff, from your parents?
Hell yeah.
Guess what? El Salvador jumped off the cliff and they had a parachute, and that parachute was a big orange bee on it. And Brazil are looking to potentially copy and follow in their footsteps, which is great. Their politicians were looking into this, and I think there are a lot of people unbanked in Brazil, as a lot of South America. it's perfect for them. You know, here in the West, in the UK, the US, we don't necessarily need to follow and jump on the bandwagon. There are lots of reasons why we should, because of the printing, but we're not in the same like economic like flow of what somebody in Brazil is. You know, they probably make a couple of $100 a month, and that's there to sustain them until the next month. It's not enough. So therefore, they need a sound money in order to help them get on that ladder. A lot of them are unbanked as well. So again, Lightning Network, peer-to-peer money being sent from abroad. Because this is an interesting stat for you. Because I came across another podcaster. He's got a podcast called the One Love Podcast. So he's a Jamaican guy, and he interviews people. And there are more people from Jamaica that live outside of Jamaica. So they've emigrated and might live in Canada, US, UK, wherever. But there are people that are, of course, sending money back home. And again, they need it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of the small South American countries, because obviously I lived in Puerto Rico for a year. Exactly the same situation there. Most people leave, and it's always the brightest and smartest. They called it the brain drain. What a failing currency will do to you is the smartest and the hardest working people. They leave and go to the successful countries and add to their economy. All you got to do is look at the big tech companies in America and look who founded them. Half of them aren't Americans. They're Indians, they're South Americans, they're Mexicans, they're all from all around the world. But which countries benefited from having those companies, all the jobs they created, all the taxes that they paid or didn't pay, admittedly. But still, it's like that America gets more famous, right? Whereas, Barbados, Puerto Rico, all they get is some money sent home from families, which is obviously one-off payments. It's the whole, how do you save like a poor person that can't feed themselves? Do you give them a fish or do you teach them to fish? And the problem is, like, we're teaching people to fish in the successful countries, and we're just sending the fish back. It's like, no, we need to teach the people in Barbados, the people in Puerto Rico, how to fish, how to build businesses. And you can't do it without a stable economy that is constantly hyperinflating ahead of you, constantly making you poor. So you just leave to go to a better currency. It's just so. And this is the thing. And also, why are all the banks, why are people unbanked? Why is half the population not got a bank account? Because they're not profitable. The beautiful thing is about Bitcoin doesn't care. Just download the wallet. It's fucking free. There's no KYC. There's no AML. There's no regulation. Just sign up for it and start accepting sats. And boom, you've now got a bank account. It's a Bitcoin bank account. You can only send and receive sats, but it's free. And no one is worrying that, oh, this customer isn't profitable. No one gives a shit. Bitcoin doesn't care. Just start sending. Every time you send a transaction, choose the network. Do it on layer 1, pay 50p for the transaction. Do it on Lightning.
With everything which you're saying there, we're talking about El Salvador and Brazil, moving into the next arena. And there's various other countries, Venezuela, which are in a whole heap of trouble. Argentina's in a big trouble. So we've got a couple of potentials in South America. Once countries like that start accepting, and I think we might see the kind of almost chain reaction to places like Africa, because we've got a lot of poor countries where they don't have bank accounts, like you said. I think we talked about the other week where it's an exchange of phone credits almost.
Yeah.
And so Africa is absolutely ripe for this, and parts of Southeast Asia as well, because they aren't banked. So kind of like they do have mobile phone, has some cheap, old, whatever it is, Chinese phone. And so everyone has access to the internet through, 3G, 4G. So it'll be very interesting the next couple of years. And, just listening to hearing you talk then, the vision of kind of seeing all these countries take on Bitcoin as a currency. And that is the start of Bitcoin, hyper-Bitcoinization. When it hits all those countries, how are you going to stop it hitting the West? They're going to try, but literally, how are you going to stop it when everyone in the world has realized it's a correct way, and you're starting to get behind.
Yeah. And also going back to the Pandora Papers as well, because again, it's probably a podcast within itself, but a lot of these people we spoke about some were no longer in power, but some were and are still in power and then avoiding tax, but also they were stealing money essentially from the people that were paying them. No. Yes, unfortunately. and that's like them stealing the money essentially was then also stealing from building infrastructure within those countries as well. So things like, many a time you've seen corruption within the governments from aid that is coming from one country or a multitude of countries, and then it never you've heard the story, it never gets to the right place. Well, that then leaves them in the situation of what they're in now, which then forces the brightest to then move, and then it just capitulates, and it's a real vicious cycle for those people to move out. Bitcoin solves that. It really does. And thinking about it, and obviously the knowledge that we acquire from all the research and the time spent, probably too much time, but you then start to realize it's all this big circle of you. And the classic phrase, fix or solve with money, solve the problem. Fix the money, solve the problem.
Yeah, it's why it's also like beautiful when when El Salvador kind of adopted a Bitcoin standard, and they said they're going to buy $30 of Bitcoin for everyone, which was 180 million. We could see it, right? It's like they sent $30 to every single person's phone, so we knew that what they said they actually delivered it on.
Correct.
It's so hard to do that, right? So much money goes into these countries that are supposedly to help the people, and they say it gets there. They say, oh yeah, they got it in benefits and all this type of stuff. Then someone goes on the ground and they ask the people, like, have you received any money over the last 10 years? And they're like, what? And you just go, what the hell? Like, you should have all been receiving almost like a monthly benefits type thing to get you to a certain standard of living where you had clean drinking water and all this type of stuff. And they just physically didn't get it. And you track it all back, and the first 100 people that got it kept it all. And with Bitcoin, you can just fix all that. And this is the great thing. I actually think there's actually a massive business idea here for charities, where if you could get someone on the ground in African countries, in South American countries, like people that really need that money, and have them set them up Bitcoin addresses. And when you deposit, when you gift, just send it to an address, which is owned by someone on the ground. When you give your 10 pounds of Satoshis, don't send it to the charity, just give it to the guy.
Or it's just create an auto router kind of thing. Yeah. So router distributes amongst all these different addresses.
But yeah, even that though, you're trusting, right? So all I would want is I want the charity to sit in the middle and have everyone verified. And so hopefully every address that is in there now is an individual person, and I can have a look at their address. Even this is almost a little bit invasive for them. I can have a look at their Bitcoin address and go, oh, look, this person's already had a couple of £100 of donations. I'll leave that guy. Oh, but this guy's only had £1 sent to him or nothing. I'll top him up and give him an extra £20 of Bitcoin. And all the company, all the charity has done is verified this is an individual in that country. And I just send it to him direct. I don't need the company to do anything. I don't want them to distribute it. I don't want them to take their fees. I just want to send it to the guy.
The divisible nature, though, of Bitcoin is the fact that you could send it out to multiple people. So you could still send your agreed amount, but you just send, little fractions to many. And everybody that does that sends little fractions to many as well. And eventually it all builds up.
Yeah, no, I love it. I would love to be able to almost go, I'll send 1 penny to 1,000 people in a needy country every month. That would be amazing. Yeah. I would, and just do it through Lightning. I would sign up for that service right now. Someone needs to create that service. And if anything, I would also pay, I don't know, £10 or £20 a month for the service. So I'll give the charity their admin fee.
knowing that they verified the people and it's going, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, because they need to do some work and they need to like break even, right? But then I don't want them to touch the sats. Like, stay away from the sats.
Yeah, yeah.
The £10 a month, that's your fee. So hopefully you need to get like £1 million or 1 million people or 100,000 people signing up for your service to make it like viable. I pay £10 a month for the service, and then I can now donate to 1,000 people, or maybe even 10,000 people, but like 1 penny of sats a month. And then if loads of people do that, if 100,000 people do it, you suddenly, all these little micropayments, they add up, and it starts to make a difference. Be awesome.
Hey, anybody listening, anyone want to comment, anyone want to help, get in touch.
Yeah,
let's do it.
But we got another story on El Salvador, because this is another great thing I think El Salvador are doing. They are they're incentivizing
great use case that keep on giving.
Because again, it actually links back, right? This is the difference, right? So they also have problem with fuel in El Salvador. The prices have gone up hugely. Just as like we had a story about the UK, what we blaming the fuel shortages on, right? We're blaming it, going, oh, that's why the prices are going up. Like the pandemic. What did El Salvador do? They just go, yeah, we're getting fucked again. They're screwing us over fuel. We know that fuel is an essential resource for this country to keep going. We also need to get off the dollar and get onto Bitcoin. So they've taken 20 cents a litre off the price of fuel if you buy in Bitcoin.
It is a little bit of coercion though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's just an incentive. It's beautiful though, because you need to get the laggards in, right? There's early adopters, there's the early mass, there's the secondary mass, and then there's the laggards. So you need to just get people in.
Couldn't you relate this to like the vaccine, and giving people donuts and fries in order to have a vaccine?
You absolutely can. I completely agree. It's just, you got to look into the fundamentals of it and go, do I want the vaccine? What are the benefits? Yeah, there are none. So I don't want the donut. I know what you're doing. You're just trying to make money. Whereas
look at the tasty donuts.
Because the thing is, like, again, like, look in the incentives then. So what are the government doing by taking 20p off petrol? They're losing tax revenue and they're incentivizing the people to spend in Bitcoin. Exactly. So where's the scam? Yeah. And
they've said that if there
is no scam.
If Bitcoin goes up, they'll still put the 20p up, 20 cents off.
Well, it's denominated in dollars. Everything is denominated in dollars. Yeah. So whatever the price of fuel is, let's say the price of fuel in El Salvador is $1. If you buy it in Bitcoin, you get it for 80 cents. So it doesn't matter what the price of Bitcoin is at the time. It's always 80 cents. And it's just the amount of Bitcoin that you would need to exchange for the 80 cents obviously is fluctuating on a day-to-day.
Yeah, so it's actually, something which I've read a bit about is price fixing, which kind of like fits in with inflation. So price fixing it's a government's natural reaction to say that, oh, you've got to sell this for X. But this is usually at the producer's expense. So you end up with a broken economy at that point. When people go like lorry drivers, because there's a couple of trains of thought isn't necessarily a shortage of workers. It's a load of people going, fuck off, I'm not driving up and down the country for 25 grand because 25 grand is nothing. And basically, when you've got price fixing, you get people like that just going, well, no, you want your products for X. We can't afford to do it anymore. So you need to raise the price of the products up. And the government have done this numerous times in the past where they've gone, grain can only be X amount, beer can only be X amount. And it's a form of price fixing. But the thing which puts this differently from all the examples before is that government is supplementing it. So the government's actually just turned around and gone, we'll make it cheaper for you if you go through Bitcoin. So it is actually the right way of doing price fixing, if there is a right way. Well, actually, there is a right way because we just talked about it.
Yeah, well, this isn't price fixing, right? This is just a discount. It's a short-term discount. The other things you're talking about there,
genuine price fixing until the 14th of October. So it's a small from the 30th of September to the 14th because it's also promoting the education of, we've only got 2 million out of the 6 million people that we gave $30 to each. We want a little bit more. So we've got the early adopters, but as to your point, Mr. Orlin, there's some more people that we need to get on board.
Yeah, this isn't like any company, right? When you want to get adoption, what do? Like, with Revolut, or if I send my link to you guys, I get £10 of free money, and you two get £10 as well for signing up using my link. It's just a normal incentives, right? So we shouldn't get confused for the fact that governments are trying to coerce a vaccine, and they're making billions off the back end. That's a very clear business decision, right? They are selling you a product, they're trying to incentivize you to buy it, and then you go, why am I being led down this path to take something that I don't necessarily want? Oh, look, the guy that's selling it to me is making billions, right? Very clear. Are they got my best interest at heart? Maybe not. When they discount the price of petrol like this, all you see is, well, are the El Salvador government making any money out of this? No, the 20 cents they took off is tax revenue. So they are making a loss. They're literally just trying to get through their Bitcoin agenda and go, we want it to take off. And we know that once people start doing a couple of Bitcoin transactions, it clicks. They realize how easy it is. They don't think that, oh, I'm not technical, I don't know what I'm doing. It's just click your phone in the same way as you do with dollars, to click it in a different way, and it goes with Bitcoin. And once you've done it a couple of times, boom, like your whole, like, everything that you're apprehensive and scared about, and I'm not technical, I don't know about Bitcoin, goes away. It's just a payment mechanism. It's freaking easy. So that's what they're trying to incentivize. And incentives are not inherently evil. You just got to look at the reason why the incentive has been put there. And this reason looks good. It just looks, they're trying to encourage the adoption of Bitcoin. There's nothing wrong with doing that.
Also worthwhile saying that when El Salvador put some of their reserves into Bitcoin as well, they're up right now. I don't know exactly what it is in terms of how much money they're up, but they're up.
Yeah, I think they're up like 20 or 30% now. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Because the October 7th, it looked like that was an engineered like down day. Like Bitcoin had one of its biggest dips of the year on El Salvador Day, on what was it, August or September 7th. We had like a 25% dip. So everyone's $30 they had in their account went down to about 25.
Yes.
Last time I checked, I think they're on about 35 now. So for the people that held, they've earned an extra $5 free. The people that sold on day one, then the people that sold on day one, their $30 instantly became 25. But if they managed to hold just for 1 month, they made $10 and went $5 into profit. And obviously, this is all free money as well. It's the El Salvadorian government just gave them $30, so it wasn't like it's a real loss. They just made an extra $5 on top of the $330 if they'd held for 1 month, 20% gain.
Show me where else you can get that.
Yeah, show me where you can get 20% over 5 years.
Yeah.
And
they've doing nothing as well, with zero effort. That's the key thing. I think we forget about that. The only effort that you have to do is put in no effort at all. Just hold.
And we've got a story just below that one actually about converting like non-Bitcoiners. So essentially I've just put in here like Bitcoin converts everyone in the end. So we've got this guy called Jimmy Toussaint, and he's screenshotted an old post of his where essentially, it's a Facebook post I think he's screenshotted and then shoved it on Twitter, and that's why I saw it. And his post just says, I used to tell Bitcoiners they were scammers and troll them, which is typical Jimmy behavior, lol. And then slowly but surely, everything Bitcoiners predicted started to come true. And I had the humility to acknowledge that I was wrong before buying Bitcoin as well. And I just thought it was a great tweet from a guy that just is really just accepting he was wrong. And he almost made it part of his personality to troll Bitcoiners. And he managed to come back from that place. And all those little arguments he must have had online where he was like, oh, you're a scammer, you're in a Ponzi scheme, He's managed to reflect on it. He's listened to Bitcoiners and gone, the money's a lie. They're inflating it away from you. Your wages will stay the same. The price of goods are going to go up. Just watch. And he actually watched. And he actually had the humility to go, I was wrong. Yeah. And I'm going to take back all those insults that I said, kind of openly apologize and go, yeah, these Bitcoin guys are right. I'm going to join their team. And I just loved it as a kind of quote, because so few people do that these days.
It's really difficult, really difficult. I mean, Bitcoin aside, in life, people find it super hard to do a 180 on a thing that they've dug their heels in, and changing their beliefs and actually admitting, do you know what, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have said that. Therefore, I'll hold my hands up, show me the right way. It's just so difficult for people to do it if you're not open to doing it.
Especially online, because you're almost forced to write your opinion down constantly, aren't you? And go, I think it's sometimes easier to go back on conversations that you had in the pub over a couple of beers, because you don't really remember. But with social media as it is, where everyone's writing their opinions down on Facebook, on Instagram, people can go and find your comment from 3 years ago and find it, that to go back on something that is etched in history, right? You really have to admit you were wrong. Whereas before, you could go, oh, I love Bitcoin now. And I'd be like, you were in the pub 4 years ago. I'm sure you were against it. I'm sure we had a massive argument. Like, oh, no. I was just slightly disagreeing on the rate of inflation. And you can kind of rewrite history. But social media's gone, no. It's stamped, screenshotted, bang. You said Bitcoin was a scam. I am a scammer, and And so to come back from that is so much harder. And here's a guy that's come back from it, and more power to him.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest person that we know that is like that is Mr. Schiff himself.
He's the head of that clan that has not capitulated. He is still. It so frustrates me. People like him. 98% right, but 2% wrong on the solution. He knows everything. He probably knows the problems of the economic system better than anyone here.
Yeah,
but doesn't know the solution. He still thinks it's gold.
Yeah.
What was it which flipped him? Sorry, as he said.
Just time. No. He said Bitcoiners just were right.
Because he had like the picture of the dollar store selling things for not $1. So I don't know if it said how much, but I'd love to know, is there just something, is there one thing?
It's just time. Just time, and I guess all the stories that he's heard, and the problem that we forget, that I think sometimes being in this world that we forget, because you can easily forget it, is that we're learning constantly all the time. We are immersed in this world, and other people, and I was guilty of this as well, is like it's like you're sleepwalking with your eyes open through life. Because when I found like the Bitcoin standard and then really started looking into these things, I was just like, fuck, how did I not see this? Literally like kicking myself to think it was so obvious.
You didn't even
despite
want to read
the fact
book.
that you were telling me. Yeah. And so, but for a lot of people, they're just getting on with everyday life. They're reading the Sun newspaper, they're going to Greg's, they're going down the pub, they're watching the footy. It's affecting them because all those things are increasing in price. The rent's going up, the mortgage is going up, don't seem to have as much spare cash. Okay, must just be life. It is what it is. Prices are going up. Yeah. But the actual real reasons which we address every week in the agendas of, okay, there's this reason, and Klaus said this, and this is going on, and it's all there.
Exactly. And the thing is, like, the stories that we link to in here that have got real information in that like is interesting, they're either Bitcoin sites or their Twitter. The stuff that is bullshit is mainstream media. So the one link in here that is like mainstream media was the real explanation, supposedly, for the in price of goods, right? It was like, oh, because fuel and all that's gone up. So that person that is living their life normally, and they go, why are my wages not going as far? they read that article and they go, oh, it's because there's fuel shortages and there's food shortages because of the pandemic. And they go, oh, okay. And they don't ask any more questions because it's been answered, right? They make sure they give you little answers. And if you dig one layer in, you realize it's bullshit. But if you don't dig.
Exactly. And I guess also as well, when you're at that level, you also think that, well, that's my only source. If it says it there, then it must be right. But really, we know that there's so many layers beneath this that you can think, actually, let me go off and verify or look elsewhere. I won't just click the Daily Mail link and then take that as gospel, which again, a lot of people read that and think, oh, it's in there, must be true. They wouldn't print it otherwise, or they wouldn't publicize it and then think they could never get away with it. Unfortunately, let us break and shatter your dreams. It's false. They can do it, they do it, and it's done on purpose.
Yeah, we exposed it last week, right? The whole media is owned by two companies. There's one company that sets the agenda. It's owned by George Soros. So guess what? They're all incentivized to keep inflation. They get the majority of the gains from inflation because they print it largely for themselves, stealing from your wages and from your savings. So of course, the mainstream media, especially on TV or in newspapers or magazines, they are 100% owned by about two families.
Yeah.
And they are benefiting from inflation. So of course you don't get the anti-inflation information through that. Of course you don't. You get it through the internet. And what was our number one story today? They want to send to the internet and make them more like those news resources, the TV and the magazines. They're trying to cut down access to that information. They don't want people to be orange pilled. So it's going to get tougher and tougher, which is why we need to orange pill as many people as we can whilst everything's still free.
It's true.
Come on, Dr. Evil 10%. Pick the next story. Yeah, me paying attention for about 10 minutes.
What about we go for compounds? I saw this up all over Twitter over the last, was it week or was it 2?
Oh, go on. So hack of the week, is it? Go on, explain that one.
Yeah, so I've seen this story appear on Twitter where people have been taking a piss saying that, please, can you give the money back, which Compound has given out? So it's a shit coin, which from my understanding, it kind of gives almost, is it like dividends or something out?
Mm.
And there's been a fault in the code, which has caused large amounts to be given. So I think you've written here, but the largest was $30 million in a single amount. And in total, it's $80 million. So there's basically a flaw in the code. And the CEO sent out a tweet. Was it a tweet? Asking for the compound to be sent back and said that you get a 10% white hat fee if you did return it. But, you know, if you got that $30 million, you just be like, why? Why should I return this? This is legally mine, according to how your shitcoin works. You just walk away.
Yeah,
because you know it's a shit coin. You know it's, you know, what's the actual benefit of it?
I know it's garbage, isn't it? He was even threatening with, because they know the addresses the money went to, and some of the addresses, as we've always said, right, with the blockchain, if you've got an address that has been to an exchange before, then it's been KYC'd. So he was threatening with, oh, I can see, like that, for example, I think the 30 million address. That address had a direct link to one of the exchanges. So he went, I can go to that exchange and find out who you are and dox you essentially and find out your name and address and all that kind of stuff. But and what? You sent it me for free. I'm not doing anything illegal. It is what it is.
And if the exchange gives up my details, that's highly illegal.
Exactly, yeah, because there's no criminal offense has been committed here. I haven't hacked you. You had a bug in your code and sent me $30 million. I'm just accepting it.
Yeah.
And but the fact that he was even threatening with doxing people, this just shows you what shitcoin is like, right? It's a shitcoin market. You're going in there to make quick gains. Everyone thinks they're DeFi, decentralized. They're better than the financial system. They're better than the banks. We have morals. We have ethics. Then the shit is the fan. And I always think you find out who people are and the shit is the fan. The shit is the fan here. What does the CEO does? He threatens to dox you on the internet, throw out your name and address, try and sue you, send the police after you and all that. I thought we're DeFi. I thought we're decentralized finance. I thought code is law.
No.
The whole thing is a complete and utter fucking nonsense.
Do you know, one of the things I have also seen as well is people playing the shitcoin game by kind of investing across a couple of them, thinking, okay, well, one of them are bound to make it.
Basically, they're running an accumulator like we would on football.
Exactly. And you're thinking, just like as we explained last week in the Great Reset in Pod 24, if you invest a little bit in loads, then eventually you'll get the returns across them all. No, when shit hits the fan, you're going to get wrecked amongst them all.
Yeah, and you've got the dead cert sat in the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
It's as Bitcoin. It's going to give you 200% year on year every year.
Yeah,
and eventually everything will be denominated in it. So that's the thing. If you're going to get in and out of shitcoins and you've got a 6-month time horizon, all right, fine. But a lot of the people that I see doing this compound type stuff, they're investing in this thing for years, thinking, oh, I can put my compound into here and leave it in there for 3 years and get 10% gains every year or whatever they promise. And it's just like, you're gambling on that coin being around for 3 years. And you're also gambling on the financial system existing for 3 years. If everything goes to a Bitcoin standard in that time, your compound is zero, no matter how many % more coins you've got. They're still zero because everything is going to
be your internet pogs.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like having pounds. It's like, oh, right, great. You've got £1,000. Yeah. That doesn't buy you a penny sweet anymore. It's the same with compound. Like, oh, I've got 10,000 compound, which today would be, I don't know, like £10,000. But in 3 years' time, if Bitcoin hyperinization has happened, your £10,000 now buys you a loaf of bread. So you needed to convert to Satoshis today to have it worth more in the future. And yeah, this is a classic example of where shitcoiners just think they know what they're doing. And I don't know how much compound is worth. I would guess it's worth billions. And it's just a complete joke.
It's interesting we don't have any ICOs at the minute as well, or not a lot like you did back in 2017 as well, because I think there would be a lot of dumb money still being thrown around.
Talking about dumb money, that's why we talk about NFTs on here.
Oh gosh, JPEGs.
Because that's where all the dumb money's gone, right? The ICO thing kind of got exposed, that everyone was trying to raise money for like flying cars and go to Mars in an hour, and give me 10 million and I'll do it. And then you give them 10 million, they'd scam you and disappear and replace the website with the word penis. And so that kind of scam has been done. So now you sell JPEGs instead. But weirdly, actually, Shitcoin Corner this week, I actually did link a story here. There's actually a little bit positive towards NFTs. And I just wanted to like throw this in there to give a little bit of balance, because in the moment, what Twitter are doing, they're rolling out a feature on Twitter where if you set your profile picture to an NFT that you own, you have to log in to an NFT website to be able to select the JPEG, set it, and then in your profile picture, like a little symbol appears on your profile picture to say you actually own it. So it gives a little bit of provenance now. So my whole argument of right-click save, I can still do that and set my profile picture to the same as your profile picture that you spent $3 million on, for example. I can still set my profile picture to that one, but I won't have the little verification symbol on it. Correct. Which means I can't really flex. I can't pretend that I own it, because everyone's going to go, yeah, you just saved it. Whereas if you had that one, it would be, oh, wow, you actually have the $3 million profile picture. You're minted. That's a flex. And I just thought, actually, in the online world, it is a little bit of a use case.
It will be, definitely, because I think from the gaming world as well, you see it with various different games, different skins, different colors, different avatars, being able to do that. And it will be something that people will want to show off about. And 1000%, I can see it happening.
But it just fits in with the high time preference, so isn't it?
Massively.
Yeah, like it's pretty much like, oh, look at this.
Yeah.
Great. You spent, 50 grand on a JPEG just so you can show it off as your Twitter symbol. I just still find it quite pathetic. Like you've named it a use case, but it still comes down to you've obviously got enough in your life, so you want to show off you've got a fucking JPEG, which you bought for 50 grand because you're a fucking retard.
Yeah.
With as many obscenities as possible.
Yeah, it's not a use case that I will ever do, but it's the equivalent of I always call back to like the film Fight Club, because I fucking love Fight Club, and it's the whole like you buy shit you don't need to impress people you don't like, and that is what people do. Most people do that shit, right? They buy the toaster, they'll buy the sofa, they'll buy the TV, they'll buy everything. Like half the things in their house don't even work very well, but they look great. So when you have people around, everyone's like, oh, I recognize that toaster. That costs a couple £100. Oh, I recognize that sofa. That's a couple of grand. And it's one of these things. Human beings do it. We just accessorize to be better than the Joneses across the road. So when they come over for dinner, we don't really want them around for dinner. We don't even like the Joneses. When they come in, they know that we're better than them now. That's why we do it. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that live that life like that. And NFTs are just an extension of it. It's like the £500 toaster that you see in John Lewis that doesn't even toast very well. That's an NFT. it's the more expensive.
Do you know what my flex is?
Your headphones.
It is my organization, furniture, things like filing cabinets, things like stacks for toys. So everything is neat and tidy. That is what I like being in my house.
You're Dr. 10%. If things aren't organized, I'd be ashamed of you.
Yeah. What the viewers and listeners need to know, though, is that Dr. Evil 10%, Mr. All In, and Sir Neverlook are the tightest motherfuckers ever as well. So this plays nothing to our preference whatsoever. So, we don't care. We really, really don't care. Yes, we spend, let's not get it twisted. But we're not out there trying to impress anybody.
Yeah, it's about legacy. It's about happiness, isn't it? And does a JPEG make me happy? No, it just potentially impresses some plebs on the internet. I don't give a shit what
attention. It kind of fits with Instagram almost.
Yeah,
it's something you should add into Instagram. It's like, take a picture of me living my best life in Dubai for a holiday, which I spent pretty much my entire extra money, which is above my bills, in order to go to Dubai to spend a week. And it's cost me £5,000, and now I have no money for the rest of the year.
You can see it coming, can't you?
Yeah, and that's literally what an NFT says to me about the person.
Yeah, because real art, people buy and then they typically hide it away from the public. They don't put it out there to be like, yo, look at this.
Real art, because you kind of got fake art, modern art. I think where people just make, and we've ended up with pieces being sold for millions, but the kind of classics which took years to paint or took years for someone to craft their art to actually make.
Yeah, or rare arts where the artist has potentially died and there is no more to be made as well.
Yeah. But even like traditional art though, it still is a flex, right? Because if you want the original, it's no better than the copy. You can get the poster version and pretty much get 99% of the effect, right? But when you put it up there, people know it's a copy. Like you're still getting the enjoyment of it, but a copy would cost, say, I don't know, £200 to get it on a nice canvas and that. Whereas the original might cost millions. It's the original money or whatever. And again, it's a flex, and it's the same thing. And NFTs are exactly the same, because I can take that NFT, if I really like it, print it out, put it on a nice canvas. But then if I can print it out, put it on a nice canvas, and then also when someone comes round and goes, oh, I recognize that NFT. Isn't that one of the most expensive ones? And then I can fire up my phone and go, yeah, look, it's in my wallet. And you go, oh my God, you own it. It's just a flex. It's
If I came around to your place and we had that conversation, you showed me on your phone, I'd slap you.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm still in original whale dick territory. that whole conversation, like a whale dick that's what I'm spending my 30 grand.
That's your flex.
Yeah, a whale dick, a real one, not a JPEG.
It's like, let me show you my art collection. Is that a whale dick?
And here's a donkey dick. And it's just a collection of dicks.
Yes, this is my most treasured. Is that a Siamese twin dick?
Here's some of the biggest dicks in the world.
I think we've completely gone on a tangent on that. So we talked about NFTs. What else have we got left in the list?
We've got quite a bit still. So one of the stories that I think I put on there, Mr. Wonderful. Mr. Wonderful, because we've spoken about it, people's humility to actually say, there is some value in Bitcoin. He was one of those guys. So he was anti-Bitcoiner, don't get it, don't understand it, and now also a gold bug as well. He's a true gold bug. Also owns a lot of watches as well. That's his his thing. He's openly now said that his small percentage of his portfolio, I think about 5%, that he owned in gold, he now owns more in Bitcoin.
So you say 7%?
Yeah,
was
7% in Bitcoin.
Was it Bitcoin? He did say crypto a lot in that video.
He did, didn't he? Yeah, you're right.
And it disgusted me.
Yeah, that part. Yeah, I was going to say that part. I was just a bit like, oh gosh, he's doing the exact same thing of spreading his risk. No, stop. Just stick with Bitcoin, yeah. But the fact that he's in.
Yeah, it's another example as well of essentially that money. He gets it again, doesn't he? He gets the fact he understands inflation. He understands that the government owning the money is wrong, which is why he had a 5% allocation to gold. It was his hedge. And the fact that Bitcoin or crypto is overtaken that hedge is an example of even the boomers, right? Even the people that we don't really expect to follow. We almost, in my mind, I'm almost expecting them to die out before they buy. And they essentially give the money to the younger generation, and then they reallocate it more sensibly, because they've just been indoctrinated into the gold standard for too long. They're just too far gone. He's an example of a guy that managed to admit he was wrong. He's come on board, but then he's going into the shitcoin land. And I think I allow a little bit of leeway, because I shitcoined when I first came in. When you first come into Bitcoin, you think, oh wow, yeah, Bitcoin decentralizes the money, but all these shitcoins decentralize everything else, and you buy into the marketing. I brought into the marketing early on. And then you realize they're not decentralized. They're all pretending to be. And it just takes time to figure that out. And sometimes, because when he's obviously come in a bull market, Bitcoin's going up, and some of the shit coins are going up faster. There's loads of them going to zero, but some of them go up faster. So if he ends up getting lucky and buying one of them and it goes up, but almost proves that his theory was correct, even though it's wrong, but he's earning more money than where if he just left it all in Bitcoin, he wouldn't have made as much money, because he kind of diversified into some shit coins, and temporarily they went up faster. Yeah. But he's in a bull market right now. So once we get the pullbacks, Bitcoin will pull back 20, 30, 40, 50%, whatever it is, by whenever it gets to its all-time high. the shit coins would go down 98. So that was when kind of the chickens come home to roost, and that hasn't happened yet. So I think he's part of the new cohort. He's coming in this bull market. Like, welcome to the team. But he needs to go through a cycle. He needs to go through the boom and bust. And in the next bull cycle of Bitcoin, in the next bull market, when we're going from whatever we get to, like 250 to like 3 million or whatever, he'll be a Bitcoiner then, but because he lost a shit ton of money on shit coins. But at the moment, he's making a bit of money on shit coins, so he still thinks they're all right. And but it's just temporary. He's only been in for 3 or 4 months, so if he's made a little bit of short-term gains, like, well done, but they're not going to last. Like, cash out and convert it to sats.
Exactly. I think the interesting thing is, not only people are thinking, oh, great, they're going up quicker than Bitcoin, but will they be here as long as Bitcoin? I think is the question to ask. Are they going to be around in 3, 4, 5 years' time?
Dink donk is the future currency.
Well, not come rocket.
Polka dot.
Yeah. I'm hearing a lot about Solana as well, and that's like the new thing where everybody.
Did we talk about that a couple of weeks ago with a big outage? Was it?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Talking of outages.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. That one.
Well, the only reason Solana. Go on.
Sorry.
The only reason Solana gets any airtime is purely because all the lies that Ethereum says they reckon they can do, because they're not doing it, and the network fees. I think on the average fee on the Ethereum network right now is $50, which is insane, right? I sent a number of Bitcoin transactions literally today on the main chain, and it was 50p a transaction, which
were we some of millions?
Multiple, no. but it's 50p a transaction, and it's in
the millions.
and if I just sent that on Ethereum, it would cost more like £50. And so the only reason Solana is getting any airtime is they basically went, oh, we're Ethereum, but we can do it for a penny transaction. It's the whole classic, like, why of all the Bitcoin competitors come up, they just go, we're Bitcoin, but cheaper. And they went, we're Ethereum, but cheaper. And in reality, it's like, no, Solana is an even worse version of Ethereum. And they went down for like 3 days or something and got completely hacked. But if you'd invested in Solana about 6 months ago, I think you're 100 times up on your money. So people made money. It's like the whole marketing thing is all that matters. The product doesn't work. It's not going to be around. It doesn't actually solve a real problem. But if enough people were stupid enough to believe in it, a lot of people made a lot of money, like serious money. Like when you 100x over 6 months, that's crazy, right? That means if you had like £1,000 in Solana, you turned it into £1 million. It's insane. Those kind of gains are the kind of gains that the degenerates go after. And fair play, if you manage to ride it up and you get your £1,000 into Solana 6 months ago, and you turned it into $1 million, I hope you sold. And congratulations. Yeah. But that was 9,000. One out of 9,000 coins did that.
It was a punt. There's no, mastery behind your purchasing.
No. And fundamentally, you were proven wrong as well. Like, it didn't do the thing you said it was going to do. But before
there's another one which has been talked around as well. What on earth was it called? Was it Shim? Which was Shib? Was that?
Oh,
that's the competitor Dogecoin.
Wasn't that?
Oh yeah.
Shiba
coin.
Hasn't that dipped massively today?
I never look.
No, I think I caught a glance of it. So once again, just another shit coin. So I was just trying to think what we can actually lead this on to. What stories we've got left to talk through.
We're talking about scams at the moment. Let's talk about the US printing $3.5 trillion.
Well, that just stimulates the economy.
Yeah, it's going to be super stimulating. It's going to be coming everywhere.
Let's get this right. Are we not, or the US, not only printing $3.5 trillion, but they are also going to, if they haven't already, wiping out student debt as well.
I didn't
So
know.
I've been rumouring
they've not done that, but is that still on the table?
Oh no.
That was just Biden to get into office to get some students to vote for him.
Yeah, that was lies, because that would actually help people.
Yeah.
they're not gonna do anything crazy.
So that was his manifesto, like Trump's war.
Yeah.
We're gonna build a wall. So they were gonna, like, essentially, I'm gonna reduce student debt to zero.
It's a standard left promise, which they never do.
It's funny though, because like the scams, people always buy into them. They don't actually then call them out on it. And I think we may have spoken about it before, but if we actually judged politicians on the outcomes, not the promises that they actually did, it'd be a different ballgame altogether.
You should probably write a big list for every single government which has been elected for UK about the main promises and what was actually achieved out of those promises.
Someone has. Someone has done that. I remember reading it. It was one of the things that orange pilled me, or guys who got red pilled back in the day, because I wasn't a Bitcoiner. But yeah, about 10 years ago, I read exactly that type of document, and it had a load of promises set out by various Conservative and Labour governments, and then it put next to it the results. And essentially, I think it said it was roughly about 80% of the policies that were pitched in the manifesto never even happened. They didn't even try and do them. And
I was going to say, was there any attempt? So
yeah,
you might
think
find...
you got three categories, haven't you? Attempted, done, and just not even bothered.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, at least if they attempt it and then fail, you can say okay to that, because a lot of the stuff they're trying to do is tough, right? But yeah, a lot of it wasn't even tried. And in reality, when the report that I read, quite often they did the opposite. So it was like this student loan thing. It's we're going to cut student loans. What's the net result that actually happens? Student loans went up. They literally did the opposite. And so that goes from incompetence to corruption, because if you genuinely cared about student loans, you would never have allowed them to go up. Like, you were trying to get them to zero, and instead they went up by 20%. This is clear. You were lying. Yeah. You had no intention of doing it. And but yeah, so this 3.5 trillion stuff, it's hilarious, right? They're literally trying to say, and there's a great line from our favorite Nancy Pelosi on here, saying,
world's greatest investor.
Yeah, we can come to that after this. That she's literally saying, it's like she's drunk, but she's saying $3.5 trillion. Don't worry about it. It equals $0. And you're like, what? Like, oh yeah, we're going to add so much value to America by printing this and creating so much wealth that essentially it costs zero. So let's not focus on the money. Let's just focus on the issues.
I didn't really understand that clip. Is one which I was going to question, what did she actually mean by it? Yeah. Is it the
You'll
fact
get
that...
so much back that it'll feel like zero, basically. So probably like the lies that our other halves tell us, oh, we need this, let's buy this. Yeah, it'll be fine. You'll get it back.
Having kids will be fun.
Start me on that. Yeah.
So it's basically the
you might find me in the comments section on that topic right there. I want a free t-shirt.
The pain which you're going to cause by reducing the worth of your wages and savings will be worth it, because what we're going to do with all this money is what she's saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I love that I tagged on the Biden tweet as well.
Yeah,
because I love whenever they do this type of stuff. So when 9/11 happened, for example, and they rolled out a load of crazy new laws and regulations, they called it the Patriot Act, which sounds like, if you're not a patriot and you're not an American, how can you not support this? This is literally called the Patriot Act. And when you look at the Patriot Act, essentially what it did was a load of extra regulation and no extra laws. One of the laws being they can hold you indefinitely under no charge forever if they suspect you of terrorism. So it completely goes against the Constitution, right? Rips it apart, throws it in the bin. But they call it the Patriot Act. It's branding. Same with this. 3.5 trillion.
So the classic, going back to the Great Reset, we're doing it for your own benefit as well. It's like, again, when you start to peel underneath the layer, it's the same thing again and again.
Yeah, because it works every fucking time.
Yeah, it works.
Like, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
So what have they done for this?
My pants are down by my ankles again.
Exactly. So they're printing 3.5 trillion, right? That they're going to inflate the supply of the money by another 20 or 30%. What do they call it? They call it the bipartisan infrastructure deal and the Build Back Better agenda. So there's so many words in there, right? They call it bipartisan, which straight away means no matter which side of the political spectrum you're on, conservative, or what is it in America?
Oh, no, Democrat and Republic, yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to Labour and Conservative over here.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. This is bipartisan. Everyone fucking agrees on this because this is a pandemic and we're fixing it. Doesn't matter your political allegiance. Even though Joe Biden is a Democrat, you have to agree to this. It's because it says it's bipartisan in the title. If they put it in the title, it's got to be fucking true.
People that are MAGA, BLM, pro-choice, he, she, pronouns,
what about the KKK?
They're all in it.
Yep. Bipartisan means all political parties agree. Yeah. And they must agree because they put it in the title. They don't, but they put it in the title. It's just beautiful
Republicans
branding.
have said that it's too much and was a pile of nonsense in there, haven't they?
It's literally, it's like me coming out of a contract that says you're going to give me all your money, and I name this contract Dr. Evil 10% agrees. And then and you're like, how can you not agree? It says it in the title. And you're like, but you read the contract, it says, I give you all my money. I'm like, it says Dr. 10% agrees at the top. It's like, you've just written that in the title. Like the content of the actual contract screws me over. And it's exactly what they're doing here yet again. They give it a nice title.
Even just saying that is having anxiety attacks right now. Look at him. He's like, oh my God.
I don't need another boat. You can keep it.
Well, this one's going to be the size of the Titanic, but won't sink.
But,
just for me.
Dinky boat next to the size of mine.
Yeah, here we are. So then let's go on to Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, I was going to say
everyone's favorite, the world's best investor. So what we got for Warren Buffett? What's his returns over the last 10 years? It's around about 20%. I think
he's been down. No.
Okay, over his lifetime.
Oh, sorry.
Lifetime.
So you based on what? Yeah.
So I think his is around about 20% over his lifetime, and obviously it's taken a bit of an impact over the last 10, 20 years. You know, maybe doesn't know the market or isn't as sharp as he used to be. And there's some other ones in there which I think were well-known investors who are, you know, somewhere about 20% again. But Nancy Pelosi, is she 69% returns?
Nice.
Over the last 10 years. So this is someone who was on a couple $100,000, so really good money compared to the average pleb. But she's managed to take her salary and convert it to about $100 million fortune of investments. But her husband, I think, is involved somehow. I don't really know what he does, or if he's just some kind of gopher for her.
Yeah, he's the gopher. It's like when you talk about Putin and his girlfriend owning random properties all around the world, that's all Pelosi's husband is. It's like you shouldn't know the stuff I know, and legally I haven't told you about it. So if you invest in stuff and it happened to go up, it's just a coincidence. it's the classic.
The thing is, it's not even trying. It's such an extreme percentage. Like, Warren Buffett, 20%, and he's built up billions based upon his great investments on 20%. It's really impressive. 20% compound. It just creates a massive fortune. But going 69% year on year, it just seems absolutely ridiculous that she thinks she can get away with it. But she is. Everyone's caught onto it now. There's even a Twitter account which I follow, and she blocked the Twitter account.
I've got one of your links here. She turned, I don't know how she got 42 million, but apparently she had 42 million in 2015. And then today she has 200 million.
Oh, I was completely out. So yeah, she's got some great stocks there like Apple, but there are a couple of examples where she invested in a little known company which was impacted by some kind of act a couple of months later, which she couldn't possibly have known about beforehand, or rather her husband. And it's just things like that. Like, it would just be like, I don't care what your excuse is. You're going to prison and we're taking all your money off you. It should be how a proper world lives. It just seems absolutely ridiculous that the people surrounding us saying it's fine.
Yeah, I've just posted in the group, which we can obviously put on the show notes as well. Warren Buffett versus US stocks. So I'll just quickly read them out. It does go back for everybody that clicks on that all the way back to the year 1977, but it's got an annual return versus the US stocks portfolio. Just quick math says that he was down on the last 3 years, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Basically, until 2011, so 2011 onwards, he has not outperformed US stocks portfolio. He's done well, don't get me wrong. We've got 14% up, 29% up, 12%, 10, 19. He was down in 2018, but so was the US stocks portfolio. For him, he wasn't as down. He was down 3%, whereas US stocks were down 5%. In 2019, he was up 28%, but if he'd have just invested in US stocks portfolio, he could have been up 30%. So he's not had a good run as of the last decade.
If he just invest in Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You get 200% returns every year if you did Bitcoin.
Exactly.
And it is hilarious, right? Because obviously Warren Buffett is known as probably one of the best investors of our generation. And he's pretty much outperforming the market in most cases there. Even on a down market, he's not losing quite as much as the market is losing. And that looks like relatively legit. I would say that looks like a proper investor portfolio. And then you look at a politician's portfolio in Nancy Pelosi, who is supposedly full-time. She's supposed to be a politician working all the hours, serving the people. She's returned 69% year on year over the last 7 years. Insider info, anyone? Come on.
I think it's actually one of those ones, like, they shouldn't even dig into it. She should just be thrown in prison. I just think it's that extreme.
Do you think that she really will be, given the fact that she's a woman and white, and her husband was doing it potentially on her behalf?
I don't know if a white comes into it. I think it's just the fact that she's a politician. Yeah, she's in me in a circle.
I almost feel sorry for Nancy for the fact that she's been highlighted. I think people just hate her because she's just very clearly a bit of an eccentric old lady now, and she's just crazy. And she represents, I think, everything that people hate in politics, because she's almost she's like another Joe Biden. She's virtually got dementia now. She can barely speak.
I'm actually seen her. I know very little apart from what's written about her.
Same.
And actually, I found out about a year ago, and she was doing some type of home cribs type episode on social media where she was trying
here's my crib.
Yeah, and literally she got lambasted for it, because one of the little scenes that she did, which the little scene that went viral, was she went over to her fridge and her freezer. She pulled out the first layer of the freezer, and it was massive, and it was just full of ice cream, all these little pots. And she was literally listing and going, oh, this is my favorite place in the house. And she was pulling out all this different flavor of ice cream and going, oh, I don't know how anyone lives without their ice cream. And you're like, you are so disconnected from the real world. Like, no one has every flavor of ice cream in the front, like an entire drawer of your freezer is dedicated to ice cream, and there's literally 50 flavors in there. And it just exposed the fact that she's not a real person. You're living in a fucking dream world. And so she barely ever like went public again around anything social. But people, because
politician of that, did cribs.
Well, it's kind of an equivalent. She was trying to become like more human, but then now she became a meme, and ever since then, everyone's been jumping on her. But hey, look, like thinking about it normally, and I'm trying to make money out of this. These politicians, 3 months after they make an investment, they have to make it public. That's why that Twitter account that you now follow, they follow these politicians, and they follow their investments. They have to make them public after 3 months. So as a fellow pleb who doesn't have insider information, what we can do, and I'm disappointed in myself for not even thinking about this earlier, is we should follow these accounts. We should follow what these politicians invest in. Obviously, we're investing in Bitcoin, but if you are punting on the stock market, there's worse things to do is to follow the politicians.
Yeah. If it's 3 months late, though.
Yeah, 3 months late, but
typically they are holding for longer than 3 months.
Yeah. And admittedly, you are right, because they do dump stuff. Like they dumped all their tech stocks just before they're about to regulate the tech, and so they're very.
They dumped all sorts in January 2020 before we threw the world into lockdowns.
Yeah, they sold all their shares just before lockdown. Yeah, nearly all these politicians sold all their shares in March 2020, and then they bought them all back in April 2020. Don't even want to say.
You just don't know what's going on in the interim, do you? In between the transparency of what they've actually bought into.
Yeah. You don't really know why. But what have we got here? We got a couple.
The Coinbase hack was one that I put in last minute as well. Did you guys see
that one? No, I haven't.
Yeah, just do a quick refresh on the notes. I love the fact that I've got it on screen as well, as opposed to my phone, so it's life-changing. But apparently 6,000 accounts on Coinbase were hacked through phishing attacks. Now, this one's an interesting one because we've spoken about it many a time, but not your keys, not your cheese. So, take it off the exchange. Invest in the time that you've invested in putting the money into, whatever you've bought, whether it's Bitcoin or a shit coin, at least take it off the platform, because things like this can happen.
Yeah. And weirdly, it looks like when I was reading the article, because I hadn't heard of this one at all, it hasn't hit Bitcoin Twitter, but Coinbase are refunding people that lost their money.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is nice of them. All I can guess is that the 6,000 people that did get hacked didn't have much money. Because
if I lost my £17.18 or whatever it is.
And you're right, it hasn't hit the mainstream. Because at first I thought, it sounds a little bit dodgy, this, because the site that I've linked it to and where it came from, I was just like, did this really happen? But
it was saying that there's a flaw in the two-factor authentication after phishing the password, so that's why Coinbase are refunded.
Yeah. I guess they're probably trying to keep it low-key as well. Even though they've done the right thing, they're refunding the people back.
But the people who've got large amounts won't be putting their money on Coinbase like that.
Well, they won't be keeping it.
Exactly. There, no. If they've got, say, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, 100 million, it'll be on ledgers. So I think it's minimal, but kind of exposure to Coinbase.
You'd like to think so, definitely.
I think we'd be surprised. I think if they like publish the top accounts on Coinbase, the top 1,000 accounts on Coinbase, they've all got millions of pounds of Bitcoin and various coins in there. I can almost guarantee it.
Maybe mine is one of them. £17.23 balance.
Yeah, and I think I've got like £4.80 or something, which is, again, it's the free shitcoin money, isn't it? That you convert to sats and just leave it in there. And I think there's a minimum £10 like before you can withdraw it or something. So I just wait until it gets to that and then take it out. But yeah, it's an interesting story because, again, Coinbase, this is probably the first story that I've heard of Coinbase being hacked in any meaningful way. And it does look like this was Coinbase's 2FA. So somehow someone was, I think they were like intercepting it or something, where instead of sending the real 2FA request, which only your device would have had, I think someone managed to hack that request, intercept it, and then just send a random code back, and they just accepted it. So they essentially, even though you had protected your account, it wasn't protected and they could still get in, and then they emptied the account, which is why Coinbase have taken liability and gone, this is us, we fucked up here, so we'll give you your money back. But again, I think because they've only been compromised to probably a relatively low amount, it doesn't say in this article how much got stolen. I would guess it's maximum a couple of million. So they've just gone for the PR, pay them back, just refill the accounts. But I can guarantee if there was 100 million or 200 million stolen here, it would be a very different story. And Coinbase would probably be going, well, we ain't got the money to give that back, so it's on you. And if you look at the T's and C's that you signed up to, it does say it's the responsibility of you and you alone to secure your account. We'd accept zero liability. So always,
in a way, they can spin this story as a good story on behalf of Coinbase and why you as a customer should join Coinbase, because of course, you know, there's lots of exchanges that are out there and they're all vying for new customers. So if you know that in the event that this was going to happen to you as a noob, you think, actually, I should go with these guys, and at least I know I'm going to get my money back. Because again, dependent on how well educated the consumer is, they've just been told, I need to go onto Coinbase, I need to go and make myself an account. Okay, cool. And if anything happens, I know I'm going to be covered. Fantastic, I'll do it.
Yeah, which
it feels like normal in terms of like the FCS would give me my money back as well.
Yeah.
FCS, on the Mr. All-In exchange, it'd be like tough shit. Don't be a fucktard.
Tough shit, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, because this is the weird one, isn't it? Because this wouldn't be covered under the FCS insurance because it wasn't. Coinbase didn't go bust. The accounts got hacked, so it's very much in the responsibility of Coinbase of what they want to do. They could have held firm and just gone, money's gone, or they could refund it. It's completely to their discretion. In this instance, they paid it back. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head, right? Introducing it, just don't trust it. When I saw this story, I kind of shit myself when I saw it. I went, oh shit, maybe my Coinbase has been hacked. But in reality, I just was like, it's just an inconvenience. Because all I'd have to do is go in and reset my passwords, reset my 2FA and do all that. I've got zero kind of like concern about losing any Bitcoin. It's just when I do go on there to buy more Bitcoin, I don't want to get freaking siphoned from under my feet before I can send it to my ledger if my account is compromised. So you want to check this stuff because never trust exchanges. But if you don't leave any Bitcoin on there, whenever this happens, because quite often, like obviously this hole has been exposed, Coinbase have probably almost certainly fixed that leak now. So no one is getting into accounts anymore.
Yeah, because it was between March and May, wasn't it? So now the story's only come out. So it's done. It's zipped up.
So just don't hold any meaningful money on an exchange. Nice and easy. Take custody, buy a ledger, buy a Trezor, buy a cold card, take custody of it. And then whenever these big hacks come out, you don't give a shit. And it's just stress-free, because the worst thing you want is to have your life savings sat in Coinbase and an article like this comes out and you go, oh shit, and you panic, log into Coinbase to see if your money's still there. I can't even comprehend it because, oh man, that balance said 0. Fuck me, it's all gone. Don't do it. Don't trust an exchange.
It's like making a mistake though if you were to somehow try to send money from one ledger to another and you made a mistake, and I don't even know what I'd do. Just the whole, it's the conviction, that you've been doing the right things, and then all of a sudden you've made a mistake, or you've forgotten your password, let's say, to be able to retrieve your funds. So you've not even done anything that bad. Just didn't bear thinking about.
But
one of the last stories is, it could be a story that we run every week as well. Is China bans Bitcoin
again? Yeah.
Again, yeah. This isn't a loop. China bans Bitcoin. So once again, people. So from my understanding, it's not illegal to hold it. It's just simply illegal to buy it. So therefore, how can you get it if you can't buy it yourself? So yeah, somebody could transfer it to you. Fantastic. But when it was so indoctrinated into the culture through WeChat and things like that, it was just normal. And of course, you had hundreds or if not thousands of miners in China mining Bitcoin, which I still will say is a mistake for China in their running of like Bitcoin as well, and their standing in Bitcoin, and they'll look back and think, we had a position here.
A lot of them did sell off the Bitcoin when it initially got banned, didn't they? The miners.
I think they were made to, yeah, definitely, yeah.
So it is one of those ones like where you think most Bitcoins should just be like, yeah, I've sold it, and then just keep it on a ledger hidden somewhere, and just not even access it. Just go, I've got it. I've got the secret words. I'm just gonna keep it because I know I've got a belief that's what I think most people would be like. So I always thought it's a bit strange that it was sold in the first place.
Absolutely, because they're not saying that it's illegal to hold it. So you're absolutely right. You could have just held it and cracked on, let it go up. And
the reason why they had to sell it was because they had to relocate their mining operations, which cost a shit ton of money. So they had to shut down all their China mining operations and relocate them in Europe and America. So they had to pack everything up, send all their employees over. And obviously during that time, they weren't making any money. So yeah, they had to sell a portion of their Bitcoin to pay for all that. And then once it was all set up, like the hash power now is all back. So all the miners that were in China are now all back up and powered and running just outside of China.
Really volcano power from El Salvador.
Yeah, that was a great story this week, actually. Yeah, El Salvador getting their first bit of Bitcoin mined by volcano power. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
It's pretty cool.
It's it's literally just he's just trying to compete for the Giga Chad like title. But yeah, I linked a story. Which one actually was it? Was it FUD of the week this week? No, actually a different one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I linked an old story. I don't know which one it is, but Bitcoin is the greatest scam in history.
Oh, the PayPal CEO.
Yeah, the PayPal.
The original.
It's actually there now.
It kind of fits in with the what's his name, who admitted he was wrong about Bitcoin. In a way, the CEO has admitted that they're wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, this guy has not admitted he's wrong, because he isn't the CEO that conceded and accepted Bitcoin at PayPal. He is the founding CEO. So this is an old article from 2018 where he was no longer the CEO of PayPal, and he's just shitting on Bitcoin, saying it's a Ponzi, it's the biggest pump and dump. It's not a store of value. It's not got anything basically. I just loved it as a FUD article because now it's gone full circle. This year, the company that he helped found as CEO accepts Bitcoin now. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you. I love the my favorite thing about any article is it has no intrinsic value.
Yeah.
What is the intrinsic value of fiat? What is the intrinsic value of gold? what is the intrinsic value of property? You know, it makes no sense.
I know.
It is what someone perceives, and it fits every single thing which you purchase or have purchased in your life.
The thing, like, money is a belief system. It's not about intrinsic value. It's about a belief system. If people believe money has value, then it does. That is the history of money. You just need all the qualities that sit behind it, like scarcity, the visibility, being able to transport and all that. But if people don't believe in it, if people don't care about gold and they move to Bitcoin instead, suddenly overnight gold becomes worth zero and Bitcoin becomes worth everything. Yeah. Where did gold lose its intrinsic value? Because the word intrinsic seems to sound like you can never lose it. It's like ingrained in the thing, intrinsic, but it's not a thing. It's like, no, money is a belief system. And if I believe in gold and everyone believes in gold, gold is worth infinite pounds. But once people don't care about that anymore and they move to something else, gold goes to zero, Bitcoin goes to 1 million. Where was the intrinsic value? Did it just jump from gold into Bitcoin? No, intrinsic value is a myth. It doesn't exist. But so the last story is a funny place to end, actually, which is fun of the week. So Bitcoin is only for far right activists. So Neverlook, you're part of the far right. You're a white nationalist.
Yeah, exactly. I'm part of the far right.
You're like, it's hilarious, isn't it? So essentially, the only reason I probably put this in there, number one, it's nonsense, right? It's just, of course, like whoever the people that you hate, like you can. I'm surprised that you haven't seen more articles like that. I'm surprised you haven't seen the Taliban, ISIS, funding themselves with Bitcoin, because of course they do. Like Bitcoin.
Do you know who funded a lifetime of terror on underage girls? America. On the dollar? Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
But
ever since he found out about it in 2009, he was just like, "Yep, I'm gonna move to that medium right now. I'll fund my lifestyle like this."
Yeah, because the thing is, it's of course, like people will move to the best form of money. The people that tend to move to it the quickest are criminals, because they're outside of the traditional system, so they're constantly looking for the best form of money that is outside of the existing system. And obviously Bitcoin is that. So of course you can go and find the worst people in the world. That I didn't even really dig into this article too much. I'm sure there are some far right scumbags trying to do dirt in the world. I'm sure there are, and I'm sure they accept Bitcoin. But the thing about Bitcoin is, there's a great line in Bitcoin, is that Bitcoin is for your enemies. Because if you decide that Bitcoin is only for good people, then it doesn't work as money. It isn't decentralized. You shouldn't be able to, no one should be able to decide who can be a Bitcoiner, who can't. If I can say that let's say that there is this racist, white nationalist, far right freaking extremist. If I can block.
You mean Sir Neverlook?
Yeah. So if it's possible for me to disagree with Sir Neverlook that much and ban him from Bitcoin, then Bitcoin is broken, because I shouldn't be able to censor Bitcoin. It is decentralized. So it is for the people you hate the most. If they can't become Bitcoiners, then it's not money. That's the point. You have to accept your enemies to be Bitcoiners.
Because otherwise you get moved into censorship, you move into, like communism, China, Russia, some of the stuff which is threatening to happen here.
Well, it's fear. It's fear. If you don't like someone's opinion, you cancel them and you remove them from the banking system, right? In Bitcoin, it is decentralized, it's censorship resistant, it's self-sovereign, it is for everyone. And what we have to accept is that means our equivalent of a Hitler can be a Bitcoiner, and he can transact in the network, and we're not going to censor his transactions. Because the second we censor his, we're one step away from censoring yours, just because I don't like your political opinion on the vaccine. And that's a slippery slope back to fiat. And that's why Bitcoin's so important. So even though it was like a joke article we put in there, it was just, it's got a serious point behind it, that we have to accept that the worst people on the planet like the dictators, the Putins, the Hitlers, all that, we have to accept they can be Bitcoiners, because if we try and censor them, then that means they can censor you.
I mean, it's been a fairly censorship free podcast, this one, apart from the first 5 minutes when Sir Neverlook dropped a few.
It's got to be somewhere in the pod to get us banned.
Yeah.
Hey, we're still going. You know, we're halfway to a year next week. If we make the full year without getting banned, you know, that'll be an achievement.
That's a very good point. 26 next week.
Yeah.
6 months of the pod. Bloody hell.
Yeah. Still going strong, and loving every minute of it, because as I always say, it keeps me so focused throughout the week. I love the agenda, the way it builds, and everything that goes on around the space as well. So let's keep on doing it. And also as well, another thing for anybody listening, and if you've got this far, well done, send suggestions of anything that you think throughout the week that we should be covering into the pod, because we read the comments. So let's do that as well.
Sweet. Sign us off, and
cool.
Neverlook.
Right. Well, once again, this show has been brought to you by Dr. Evil 10%, myself, Sir Neverlook, Mr. All-In, and she was here. She wasn't here, but you know that she wasn't here. This is No Show. So, Pod 26, signing out. Peace out. Yeah, fellow plebs, if you want to hear us, then tune in.